Hey everyone, welcome back to Real Talk Stories. I'm Joe, and as always, I'm here with my wonderful co-host, Emily.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for tuning in today. We're really happy you're here with us for another conversation.
So today, we're going to talk about something that I think touches all of us at some point in our lives.
Yeah, and honestly, when we were planning this episode, I realized how much this topic has shaped my own journey.
Right, and the thing is, we're not here to lecture anyone or give you some kind of step-by-step guide or anything.
Exactly. We're just two people sitting here sharing our thoughts, and hopefully you'll feel like you're part of the chat.
We want this to feel like you're just hanging out with us, maybe with a cup of coffee or tea, just listening in casually.
And who knows, maybe something we say today will resonate with you, or maybe it'll just be a nice way to spend some time.
Either way, we're really glad you're here, and we hope you'll stick around until the end because it gets pretty interesting.
Yeah, we might even surprise ourselves with where this conversation goes. It always happens when Joe and I start talking.
All right, so let's just dive in and see where this takes us. No script, no pressure, just real talk as always.
Perfect, let's do it.
So, Emily, I was thinking about this the other day, and it's funny how we rarely stop to think about our own growth.
Oh, I know exactly what you mean. Like, we're so busy just living day to day that we don't notice the changes happening.
Exactly. And then one day you wake up and you're like, wait, when did I become this version of myself? You know what I mean?
Yes, totally. It's like you're moving through life and suddenly you look back and realize you're not the same person anymore.
And that can be a bit scary sometimes, right? Because change isn't always something we actively choose or even want necessarily.
Definitely. I think a lot of people resist change because it feels uncomfortable, like stepping into the unknown without a map.
Yeah, but the thing is, change is going to happen whether we're ready for it or not, so we might as well embrace it.
True. And I think the people who really thrive are the ones who learn to be flexible and open to whatever comes their way.
Absolutely. And that's not easy. I mean, I'll be the first to admit that I've struggled with that so many times in my life.
Me too, Joe. Me too. I think we all have those moments where we just want to hold on to what's familiar and safe.
But sometimes the familiar and safe is exactly what's holding us back from becoming who we're meant to be?
Yeah, that's such a good point.
I remember when I was younger, I used to think that by a certain age, I'd have everything figured out, like life would just click.
Oh my gosh, yes, I had the same belief. I thought that by 30, I'd have this clear path and everything would make sense.
And then you hit that age and you realize, wait, I'm still figuring things out, and maybe that's actually totally okay.
Right, because life isn't really about reaching some final destination where everything is perfect and settled and done forever.
Exactly. It's more about the journey and the experiences and the lessons you pick up along the way, even the tough ones.
And honestly, some of the toughest experiences I've had have taught me the most valuable lessons about myself and about life.
Same here. Like, I wouldn't be who I am today without some of those really difficult, painful moments that I went through.
It's strange how that works, isn't it? Like, you don't appreciate those hard times when you're in them, but later you see their value.
Yeah, hindsight really is this powerful thing. It gives you perspective that you just can't have when you're in the middle of it all.
Definitely. And I think that's why it's important to be patient with ourselves and trust that we're exactly where we need to be.
That's a hard one, though, the patience part, because we live in a world that tells us we need to be constantly achieving things.
I know there's so much pressure to be productive and successful and always moving forward at this fast pace all the time.
But what if moving forward sometimes means slowing down and just taking a moment to breathe and reflect on where you are right now?
I love that, Joe, because I think we forget that rest and reflection are just as important as action and progress.
Yeah, and actually, some of my best ideas and insights have come when I've allowed myself to just sit still for a while.
Same. It's like your mind needs that space to process everything that's been happening and to make sense of it all quietly.
Exactly. And in those quiet moments, you can actually hear yourself think instead of just reacting to everything around you constantly.
That's so true. We're so used to noise and distractions that silence can actually feel really uncomfortable at first, almost strange.
Right. But once you get used to it, it becomes this really valuable tool for understanding yourself and what you actually want.
And knowing what you want is half the battle because a lot of people go through life without ever really asking themselves that question.
Yeah, they just follow the path that's expected of them, or the path that seems easiest without questioning if it's right.
And then they wake up one day feeling lost or unfulfilled and wondering how they ended up in this place they never chose.
It's sad, but I think it's also never too late to change direction and start moving towards something that feels more authentic.
Absolutely. I'm a big believer in the idea that you can reinvent yourself at any age, any stage of life, really.
Me too. And I think that's actually a really hopeful message that you're not stuck just because you've been doing something one way.
Yeah, you always have the power to make different choices and to create a life that aligns more with who you truly are.
You know, speaking of choices, I think one of the hardest things is learning to trust your own judgment and your own instincts.
Oh, absolutely. Because there are so many voices around us telling us what we should do, what's right, what's best for us.
Yeah, and it's easy to get drowned out by all that noise and lose touch with your own inner voice, your own intuition.
I've definitely experienced that, where I've made decisions based on what other people thought I should do, and they never felt quite right.
Same. And then you end up resenting those choices because they weren't really yours. They were someone else's vision for your life.
Exactly. And it takes courage to say, no, actually, I'm going to do what feels right to me, even if it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, even if people don't understand it or approve of it, because at the end of the day, you're the one living your life.
Right. And you're the one who has to live with the consequences of your choices, good or bad. So they should be your choices.
Absolutely. And I think that's where a lot of regret comes from, when people feel like they didn't get to live their own life.
That's such a sad thought, but I think it's really common, more common than we might like to admit or think about, honestly.
Yeah, and that's why I think conversations like this are important, to remind people that they have agency, they have power over their lives.
Definitely. And even small changes can make a big difference. You don't have to overhaul your entire life overnight to start feeling better.
Exactly. Sometimes it's just about making one small choice that aligns with your values, and then building from there, step by step.
Yeah, and celebrating those small wins, because progress is progress, no matter how tiny it might seem in the moment to you.
I think we're often too hard on ourselves, expecting perfection, when really we should be celebrating the fact that we're trying at all.
Oh, that's so true, Joe. Just showing up and making an effort is something to be proud of, even if the results aren't perfect.
Right, and perfection is such an unrealistic standard anyway. It doesn't exist, and chasing it just leads to frustration and disappointment constantly. Yeah, I'd much rather aim for progress and growth than perfection, because at least those things are actually achievable and feel good.
Me too. And I think when you let go of that need to be perfect, you actually enjoy the process so much more.
Absolutely. You can be more present and engaged instead of worrying about whether you're doing it right or measuring up to some standard.
And being present is something I've been working on a lot lately, just trying to be fully here in whatever I'm doing.
That's such an important practice, and it's harder than it sounds, right? Because our minds are always racing ahead or looking back.
Yeah, it's like we're never quite where we are. We're always somewhere else mentally, planning or worrying or replaying things constantly.
And that robs us of the actual experience of living, because life is happening right now, not in the past or the future.
Exactly. This moment is all we really have, and if we're not paying attention to it, we're missing out on our own lives.
That's a powerful realization. And I think once you really understand that, it changes how you approach everything, doesn't it?
It does. It makes you more intentional about how you spend your time and who you spend it with and what you focus on.
Yeah, because time is this precious, limited resource, and we don't always treat it that way until it's too late or almost gone.
Right. We act like we have all the time in the world, and then suddenly years have passed, and we wonder where they went.
It's a bit sobering when you think about it, but also motivating because it reminds us to make the most of what we have.
Absolutely. And making the most of it doesn't mean being busy all the time. It means being intentional and choosing what matters most.
Yes, and sometimes what matters most is actually doing less, not more, and giving yourself permission to rest and just be still.
I think that's a lesson a lot of us need to learn, especially in a culture that glorifies busyness and constant productivity.
Definitely. There's this idea that if you're not hustling all the time, you're lazy or not ambitious enough, and that's just not true.
No, it's not. And actually, rest is essential for creativity and clarity and just being able to function well in your daily life.
Exactly. You can't pour from an empty cup, and if you're constantly pushing yourself without taking breaks, you'll burn out eventually, completely.
Yeah, and burnout is no joke. It can take a long time to recover from, so it's better to prevent it in the first place.
Absolutely. And part of preventing it is learning to say no to things that don't serve you or align with your priorities right now.
That's such an important skill, saying no, because we often feel obligated to say yes to everything, even when we don't want to.
Right. And then we end up overcommitted and stressed and resentful because we're doing things we never wanted to do in the first place.
Yeah, and the irony is that by saying yes to everything, you're actually saying no to the things that really matter to you.
That's such a good way to put it, because every yes is a no to something else, so you have to choose wisely.
Exactly, and I think that's where knowing your priorities comes in, because when you're clear on what matters, decisions become easier to make.
Yeah, you have a framework for evaluating opportunities and requests, and you can say no without guilt when something doesn't fit your priorities.
And the guilt is the hard part, right? Because we're conditioned to please people and not disappoint anyone, even at our own expense.
Definitely. And breaking free from that pattern takes practice and self-compassion, because you'll inevitably disappoint someone at some point. It's unavoidable.
True, but disappointing someone else is better than constantly disappointing yourself by not honoring your own needs and boundaries, I think.
Absolutely. And the people who truly care about you will understand and respect your boundaries, even if they're initially disappointed by them.
Yeah, and if they don't respect your boundaries, that's actually valuable information about the nature of that relationship and what it means.
That's a really good point. Boundaries are a great way to figure out who's in your corner and who's just there for what you can give them.
Exactly, and it's better to know that sooner rather than later, so you can invest your energy in relationships that are truly mutual.
Yeah, relationships should be reciprocal, not one-sided, and both people should feel valued and supported and heard in the relationship equally.
Absolutely. And I think that applies to all kinds of relationships, not just romantic ones, but friendships and family relationships too, always.
Definitely. And sometimes the relationships that need the strongest boundaries are actually the ones with family, which can feel really complicated.
Oh, yeah, family dynamics are tricky because there's this expectation that you should just accept whatever behavior because they're family members.
Right, but being related to someone doesn't give them a free pass to treat you poorly or disrespect your boundaries constantly.
No, it doesn't. And setting boundaries with family can be one of the most difficult but most necessary things you do for your well-being.
I totally agree. And it's okay if that means spending less time with certain family members or limiting what you share with them.
Yeah, you have to protect your peace, and sometimes that means creating distance, even when it feels uncomfortable or goes against expectations.
And it's not about being mean or cutting people off out of spite. It's about taking care of yourself and your mental health.
Exactly. It's an act of self-preservation, and there's nothing wrong with prioritizing your own well-being, even if others don't understand it.
Right. And you don't owe anyone an explanation for your boundaries either. You can simply say no and leave it at that.
That's hard to do, though, especially if you're used to justifying yourself or feeling like you need to make everyone understand your choices.
I know, but the more you practice it, the easier it gets, and you start to realize that you don't need everyone's approval.
Yeah, and seeking approval from others is exhausting because you'll never make everyone happy no matter what you do or how hard you try.
Exactly. So you might as well make yourself happy and let other people have their own opinions about it, whatever they may be.
That's so freeing when you finally internalize that. Like, other people's opinions of you are really none of your business in the end.
Yes, and everyone's going to have an opinion anyway, so you might as well live in a way that feels authentic to you.
Absolutely. And authenticity is magnetic. Like, when you're genuinely yourself, you attract people who appreciate the real you, not a performance.
That's so true. And those are the relationships that are most fulfilling because they're based on truth and genuine connection, not pretense.
Yeah, and pretending to be someone you're not is exhausting and ultimately unsustainable. You can only keep up a facade for so long.
Right. And when the facade eventually cracks, which it will, you're left feeling even more disconnected and alone than before you started.
It's better to be your authentic self from the beginning and let people decide if they want to be part of your life.
Absolutely. And the right people will stick around, and the wrong people will filter themselves out, which is actually a blessing in disguise.
Yeah, it saves you time and energy that you would have wasted trying to maintain relationships that weren't meant to last anyway.
Exactly. And it frees up space in your life for people and experiences that actually align with who you are and what you value.
That's such an important point because life is too short to spend it with people who don't really get you or appreciate you.
Definitely. And surrounding yourself with the right people can make such a huge difference in your overall happiness and sense of fulfillment.
Oh, absolutely. I've noticed that my mood and energy levels are directly influenced by who I spend my time with regularly.
Same. Like after spending time with certain people, I feel energized and inspired, and with others, I feel completely drained and exhausted.
Yeah, and paying attention to that is important because it tells you who's adding value to your life and who's taking it away.
Right. And it's okay to be selective about who you give your time and energy to. That's not being snobby, it's being wise.
Exactly. Your time and energy are valuable, and you should invest them in people and activities that bring out the best in you.
Yeah, because that means making some tough decisions about friendships or relationships that are no longer serving you or helping you grow.
Those decisions are hard, but they're often necessary for your growth, and most of the time you know when it's time to let go.
You do. There's usually this nagging feeling that something isn't right, even if you can't quite put your finger on what it is.
Yeah, and trusting that gut feeling is important, even when your head is telling you to hold on or give it another chance.
Absolutely. Our intuition is usually trying to protect us, and we should listen to it more often instead of rationalizing things away constantly. I agree. And I think as we get older, we get better at listening to that inner voice and trusting our instincts more readily.
Definitely. Experience teaches us to recognize patterns and red flags that we might have ignored or missed when we were younger and less aware.
Yeah, and that's growth, right? Learning from your experiences and applying those lessons to future situations so you don't repeat the same mistakes.
Exactly. And being willing to admit when you were wrong or when something isn't working, that takes humility and courage, I think.
It does. And I think that's one of the marks of maturity, being able to change course when you realize you're headed in the wrong direction.
Yeah, because staying on the wrong path just because you've already invested time in it doesn't make sense. It just leads to more problems.
Right, that's the sunk cost fallacy, where you keep going just because you've already put in so much, even though it's not working.
And that applies to so many areas of life: careers, relationships, projects, anything where you might feel trapped by your past investment.
Yeah, but the truth is, it's never too late to change direction and start fresh, even if it means walking away from something significant.
Absolutely. And sometimes walking away is the bravest thing you can do, even though it might feel like giving up or failing.
It's not giving up, though. It's recognizing that something isn't right for you anymore and having the courage to pursue something better.
Exactly. And that's empowering, not weak. It means you're taking control of your life instead of just letting things happen to you passively.
Yeah, and taking control doesn't mean controlling everything. It means making conscious choices about what you can influence and letting go of the rest.
That's such an important distinction because there's so much in life that we can't control, and trying to control it all is futile.
Right. It just leads to stress and anxiety because you're fighting against reality instead of accepting it and working with what you've got.
And acceptance doesn't mean resignation or giving up. It means seeing things clearly and then deciding how you want to respond to them.
Exactly. It's about being realistic and flexible rather than rigid and insistent that things should be different than they are right now.
Yeah, and that flexibility is key to resilience because life is unpredictable and things rarely go exactly according to plan, no matter what.
Oh, absolutely. I've learned that the hard way so many times, thinking I had everything figured out, and then life threw me a curveball.
Same. And those curveballs can be really disorienting, but they also force you to adapt and grow in ways you wouldn't have otherwise.
That's true. And some of my biggest growth has come from situations I never would have chosen for myself, but they taught me so much.
Yeah, it's like the universe has its own plan sometimes, and even when we resist it, we eventually end up where we need to be.
I like that perspective. It takes some of the pressure off. Like maybe I don't have to have it all figured out right now.
Exactly. You can trust that things will unfold as they're meant to, and your job is just to stay open and responsive to what comes.
That's a much more peaceful way to live than constantly trying to control every outcome and stressing about the future all the time.
Definitely. And it allows you to be more present and engaged with what's happening right now instead of always worrying about what's next.
Yeah, and being present is really the key to happiness, I think, because that's where life actually happens, right here, right now.
Absolutely. And when you're fully present, you notice things you would have otherwise missed, little moments of beauty or connection or joy.
Those little moments add up, and they're often what make life feel meaningful and rich, not the big dramatic events we think matter.
That's so true. Like, when I look back on my happiest memories, they're usually simple, ordinary moments that felt special because of the presence.
Same here. It's rarely the big milestones. It's more like a conversation with a friend, or a quiet morning, or just feeling content.
Yeah, and I think that's the secret nobody really tells you, that happiness is often found in the ordinary, not the extraordinary.
Exactly. And when you start appreciating those ordinary moments, life starts to feel so much fuller and more satisfying in general.
Absolutely. It's like you're suddenly aware of all the good that's already in your life, instead of always chasing something external.
Right, and gratitude is such a powerful practice for that. Just taking a moment each day to acknowledge what's going well.
I've been trying to do that more consistently, and it really does shift your perspective, even on hard days when things feel hard.
Yeah, it doesn't make the hard stuff disappear, but it reminds you that there's still good alongside the challenges, and that matters.
Definitely. And I think holding both at the same time, the good and the hard, is part of what it means to be human.
Absolutely. Life is complex and messy and beautiful all at once, and we don't have to make it one thing or the other.
Yeah, we can acknowledge the struggles while also celebrating the joys, and both are valid parts of the human experience we all share.
Exactly. And I think when we're honest about that, it makes us more compassionate, both towards ourselves and towards other people too.
Definitely, because everyone's dealing with their own challenges, even if we can't see them on the surface or in their social media.
Right. And remembering that can help us be kinder and more patient with others, because we never know what someone's really going through.
That's such an important reminder, and I think the world could use a lot more of that kindness and understanding right now.
I completely agree, Emily. And I think it starts with each of us choosing to show up with compassion and openness every single day.
Yeah, even small acts of kindness can ripple out and make a difference. You never know how much your words or actions might impact someone.
Absolutely. And that's a hopeful thought, that we all have the power to contribute something positive, no matter how small it seems to us.
Definitely. And I think that's a great place for us to wrap up today's conversation on that note of hope and possibility.
I agree. And thank you so much for listening, everyone. It really means a lot to us that you spend this time with us.
Yeah, we hope something in today's conversation resonated with you or gave you something to think about as you go through your day.
And if you enjoyed this episode, feel free to come back anytime. We'll be here having more real conversations just like this one.
Absolutely. And remember, wherever you are in your journey, you're doing better than you think. So be kind to yourself today and always.
That's beautiful, Emily. And on that note, we'll see you next time, everyone. Take care of yourselves, and we'll talk to you soon.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for being here with us today.